Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the San Diego Bass Fishing Podcast. Today we have special guest Matt Luna. He's at Icast 2024 right now, and we're getting a hot off the press report. So, Matt, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. So what's going on at Icast? What's happening?
It's pretty cool. This is the first time I've ever gone, so I've been
Yeah.
excited, kind of just taking it all in a little bit. I haven't got to walk around quite as much as I think expected because I've been working at the Do It Molds booth, and we've been talking
Yeah.
to a lot of people, talking to guys from Tackle Warehouse about the new hover rig that they got going on. It won Best to Show yesterday for the custom tackle making
Okay.
category, so that was pretty cool. Tomorrow we're going to be filming with Tackle Warehouse to feature that on their website when it comes live.
So is that a do it mold?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, Do It came out with their own mold. It's going to be available to everybody on the 28th of September.
Mhm.
If any dealers want it, it's going to go out on the 20th.
Okay. All right.
Available for purchase on the 28th to everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're there with Do It Molds. Did they send you out there?
Yeah, I'm hanging out with all those guys. I'm out here with them. There's both the owners, the marketing people, the
Uh-huh.
guys that source all their products, the guys that are building the molds and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your channel on YouTube? Is it just Matt Luna Fishing?
yeah, my channel is Matt Luna Fishing.
Okay. And if anybody doesn't know who Matt Luna is, he's got a ton of subscribers already. He does a great job of making videos, making fishing videos and product videos on how to pour lead and make lures and whatever. It's a fantastic resource.
Yeah, and anybody from San Diego, you can check out and see what's going on at the lake sometimes, as long as I'm actually able to fish the lake. This year's been rough. I haven't really been fishing at home very much.
Yeah, right. Um, so so how big is it compared to, say, because none of us in Southern California have ever been to one, maybe when it was in Vegas or something, but how big have you been to the Fred Hall show or those
Yeah.
shows? Remember that? How big is the ICAST compared to one of those?
So Fred Hall, I would say, is a bigger show than iCast is,
Uh-huh.
but they're very different shows. So, for example, at this show, it's very business oriented, like where it's B2B, like business to business. So there's a lot of suppliers here in addition to the actual tackle companies. You're having one-on-one conversations, um, like if like Do It Mold sells a bunch of different brands of hooks, and they're going to meet with the people that are like they're going to meet with the representatives from Mustad. They're going to find out who is or what the new products are. They're going to be
Mhm.
talking about different ways of making the new products, where to get the products made if they're not made in the US, and all those kinds of different conversations that go on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cooperation between brands in terms of, like, let's say, you know Tackle Warehouse and Do It Molds, or Tackle Warehouse and Six Sense want to collaborate on something, then they can have some of those conversations and make some plans for the future year where there's no direct to consumer stuff going on, so to speak, here, as
Hmm.
much as it is where the retailers are coming to find out about the new products, when they can ship, potentially placing orders or getting in contact with the people that they can get the orders placed through in the
Yeah.
future, and be able to kind of plan and forecast what their year is going to look like going into 2025, essentially.
Right, right. So have you found anything that kind of caught your eye, so to speak? Like, is there anything out there that's pretty neat? Hey, this is gonna be a big one.
I mean, not to overdo it with the hover rig, but I think that that's going to be something that a lot of people like to that might get more people into tackle making, because it's a very basic mold. It's going to be very easy for guys to pour and get
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
And with forward facing sonar being so popular and kind of taking over everything right now,
Yeah.
I think it's a great way for people to want to get into tackle making. And it kind of just opens up a lot of avenues for that. I went through the Hummingbird booth today and saw the new Quest trolling motor.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool trolling motor. I'm not gonna lie. I, Everyone thinks it's just brushless, but it's much more than just a brand new brushless trolling motor. I don't have any contact with Hummingbird or anything like that. I just went by the booth and checked it out. And if you have an Ultrex right now, think of your Ultrex, and it's wider, thicker, bigger, essentially like a better, more complete product, I guess, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term. For anybody that has Ultrexes now, obviously you get that electric sound as it's turning from side to side.
Hmm.
Now you don't have that when it's going side to side. It
Wow.
also like it moves side to side just like it normally would, but you don't get that same sound.
Yeah.
The motor's not making sound because of the brushless component. For anybody that has like Raptors, like my boat does, you're going to be able to deploy the Raptors from the trolling motor, so you're not going to need the stomp switches any longer. And it's everything's all paired together.
Yeah.
It pairs directly with your graphs if you have Humminbird with the One Boat Network and all that kind of stuff. I know Lowrance has a new trolling motor, but I haven't been able to check that out.
I don't want to talk bad. Whatever. I'm a Lowrance guy, and my boat's all Lowrance, and I like to keep it all in one system, you
Mhm.
know. And Lowrance, I saw pictures of that new Lowrance, and man, I don't like it. I don't, I don't like the way it looks and whatever. I'm sure it's going to be great, and maybe when I see it in person, it's going to be different. But it didn't. I was like, that's not for me.
Do you have the Ghost now?
Yeah, yeah, I beat the crap out of it. There's people that you always have complaints and whatever, and people complain about Ultrexes too. But I have beat the crap out of my Ghost, and that thing keeps chugging along. I don't have any issues with it. It's great. It works
Yeah, my
good.
last boat, I had an issue with my Ultrex, but this one, I think they've kind of ironed out some of the issues with the Ultrex, and I think it's been pretty. This one's been pretty solid for me. I haven't had the issues that I had with the last one, but really
Uh-huh.
the last one I only had issues because it leaked into the motor and ended up having to get that kind of taken care of, which that was a common
Right.
problem. But
Right.
this one hasn't done that, so.
Yeah. Yeah. What about fishing lures? You see any new fishing lures there at the show?
Honestly, I haven't been able to walk around as much as I'd like to see kind of some of that stuff.
Yeah.
What I did see some stuff from on the reel side today. I walked by the Daiwa booth
Hmm.
and saw some of their new stuff. They got a bunch of new bait casters coming out that kind of might suit some people. They have some new 100 size. They got some new BFS stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I know that that's picking up in popularity. They're kind of hitting some different price points that I think are going to be kind of cool. They have a new Tatula 100 coming out that's got like this hyperdrive is what it's called, and
Hmm.
basically it's supposed to help you cast a little bit further than what you're used to with some of the SVs for anybody that uses Daiwa already. They got some new salt stuff that I didn't really take a look at. One of them's a spinning reel that's supposed to be a new product. I'm trying to think of the lure stuff. I haven't really gone around and seen any of the lures. I looked at like the Bassmaster stuff before I came out here, and there wasn't anything that I saw that was like too earth shattering. That I thought was like, oh man, that's going to be big. I know that the Crush City guys have been promoting some different stuff, but I haven't seen them. They're supposed to
No,
be
I'm sure.
kind of completing that offering a little bit more, but I don't know much about it.
So much money is Rapala is pouring so much money into this whole Crush City thing. It's for
Yeah.
advertising and whatever and this and that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's all right. Yeah, a lot of jig head minnows from what I've seen just in the previews, like tungsten jig heads, for
Yes.
forward facing sonar kind of stuff.
Yeah. The tungsten thing, I think it's going to slowly really impact the forward facing sonar game. I think that the ease of just getting a tungsten one and the fact that you don't really lose a lot of tackle when you're doing forward facing sonar because
Yeah,
there's really not
yeah,
much to hang it up on unless you're doing it over brush potentially. But
yeah,
it's not like you're dragging it on the bottom or anything like that. I think the tungsten game is going to be big on that. But like you can, the one thing that you can do if I really get back to the kind of like the tackle making side is
hmm,
that the jig head minnow thing, the action of that bait is really important when it comes to the jig head minnow, and
hmm,
hook size and all that kind of stuff really makes a difference. Because if you overhook it, underhook it, those cause problems. So on the tackle making side, when you're able to manipulate the hook size that goes into that head, it can really benefit you in the long run with the action out of the bait. And then something like bait pop can give you the same effect on the return you get out of
yeah.
the tungsten. Like, I don't know if the bait pop does anything in terms of like the scent or anything like that. I'm not trying to go down that path, but I have messed with that stuff, and it will help you see the bait a little bit better on forward facing sonar. So with the ease of dialing in your jig head to specifically the right whatever 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, whatever it needs to be with
Yeah.
the ball head jig, or name your jig of choice. I think that can be a big player too, because when you're buying something store bought, you're kind of at the whim of whatever is available at the
Yeah.
time, because you might want a number one hook or a 1/0 hook, and if it's not available, you're stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got that mold. I got the round jig hood mold from Do It, and I didn't even think about that. I could start pouring my own,
Mm-hmm.
because it's hard to find round 3/16 or 1/8 jig heads on a good hook right now. Like,
Right.
they're either sold out or nobody's carrying them or whatever, which is kind of weird because they're so popular. Everybody wants them.
Well, I can talk
So,
about when I was looking to add the jig head minnow stuff to what I sell and make available.
mhm.
I was talking to the guys at Tackle Warehouse, and they wanted the 2/0 hook, which is why mine come with the 2/0 hook, because that's the most popular. Where I
Yeah,
know in San Diego the 2/0 hook can be a little bit big for some of the baits
right.
that we throw, which I understand that, but
So
when you know that it's going to sell, it's hard to not put that size hook in it. And for the vast majority of the country, the bait's just bigger.
right. Yeah, I heard Kyle Welcher was promoting a jig head, and he says this one's great because you can have really small jig head, and it comes with a 3/0 hook.
Yeah.
I was like, 3/0 hook.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the heck? I ain't in
So,
Alabama.
so definitely for us, when it comes to the jig head minnow game, if you're trying to like match the tiny bait that we have in all of our lakes in San Diego, like being able
Yeah,
to make the jig yourself and pick the hook size you need for whatever bait you're going to put on there. Cause like I've caught fish on the 6 cents clobber minnow, which is like literally like 2 inches long. And I
right.
used that 2/0 hook because I needed the weight of that jig head, and I didn't have any made yet, but like
Yeah,
it worked, but it was definitely oversized. So if I wanted to dial it in and get like a number one or even a number two hook in there to make it really give as much action, it'd probably work better.
yeah. Is 6 cents, is the clobber minnow, is that the only one, like the only size that they're going to make, or are they going to make a bigger one, like a
I don't
three
know on the
eighths
clobber
inch?
minnow or on the juggle minnow. The juggle minnow works even in San Diego.
Yeah,
A lot of guys will look at it and think it's a 4 inch bait and think it's too big, but I've caught fish breaking fish on it at San Vicente or El Cap. I've caught
yeah,
fish, forward facing sonar using that bait. So even though it's a little bit bigger than what we typically throw, they still definitely will still eat that bait. The clobber
yeah.
minnow is super small, but like when it's wintertime and they're on that
Oh,
tiny bait, like you have no
yeah,
choice but to try to throw something tiny. And that bait's made for crappie fishing, but like that was where it was
right.
designed. But I've caught bass on it here at home already doing the forward facing stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Last time I was out at Otay, I had some 2.5 inch minnows. I'm not even going to say what they are because they worked good. I'll tell you, they're two and
Yeah.
a half inch, like that clobber minnow.
Mm-hmm.
And man, they worked better than the Sonar 3 inch version of
Yeah.
like the Sonar minnow or whatever everybody's using. It was noticeable. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And on the 6 cents front, I don't know that they have anything specifically being released for Icast. They've
Uh-huh.
kind of been dropping their stuff like as it's coming.
Yeah.
I know that they just did a thing with Tackle Warehouse, that they have some Tackle Warehouse exclusive colors that are pretty cool. They're very
Sure.
realistic shad patterns that I thought were pretty cool. I don't
Yeah.
have those with me like right now, obviously, because I didn't bring any tackle with me. But when I get home, there should be a package of all the new stuff that's the Tackle Warehouse 6 cents collaboration. I'll have a bunch of the new baits for that. They're available now, so if anybody wants to go check them out, they're available on the website. You can go check it out. Pretty
Yeah.
cool color, very good shad pattern. I think it would work at home for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice. Right on. So yeah, because I guess 6 Cents has a huge online presence, like 24/7 anyway. Like as
Yeah,
far as releasing goes throughout the year.
yeah. I mean, they're not here at the Icast. They haven't gone to
Wow,
Icast
really?
since. No, they haven't gone to Icast since I've been working with them, and that's probably been,
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how long. It's been at least probably 5 years or so that I've worked with them. and they haven't got Icast since I've been working with them. They were at the Classic, but I think that was more of like we're gonna go because Ben Milliken made it kind of a deal, and support Ben. I don't know if there's plans to go back again. It's in Dallas, or Dallas Fort Worth essentially. So they could, because it's so close to home base. They're only a few hours from there, so I could see them potentially doing it again, but I don't know.
Yeah.
They just kind of really went with the marketing thing in the past, was like really like the influencers and stuff, and that's where I got lucky and was able to work with them. And I know now they've gone a lot harder into the Elite Series guys too, because I mean you can just pay attention, like Lee Livesey and some other different guys that they have on court. One of the Johnson brothers, those guys have definitely had some impact on some of the new debates that are out there. They do have a new it's a 400 DD. And if anybody doesn't know the difference between the crankbaits, the DD models, and the Cloud 9 models, the DD models are more for like a burning, and they don't have quite the drag that the Cloud 9s do. So like if you're throwing a Cloud 9 like C25, one of the deep ones, like it'd be comparable to like a 10XD or something like that. For anybody that doesn't know the 6th Sense stuff, it pulls like that.
Yeah,
it pulls. But now they have a 25-foot version in the DD that doesn't pull quite as hard. You're going to be able to fish it a little bit faster. Now they have a 20-foot specific version. It's the 400 DD, and then they have the 15, and so on and so forth. Like a lot of the guys have been gravitating towards that DD model. I've thrown the Cloud 9 model a lot in San Diego, and it works definitely. But they do come with that other model too.
So it's called the DD 500.
It's the 400. The new one is 400 DD. They have a 500, 400, 300.
Okay.
And then I think they even had it. They have a 250 MD, which is similar but a little bit different. And then they have the new Pressure Series 2, which is like essentially, like for sake of conversation to describe it, it's like a flat-sided crankbait that gets deeper than a lot of the flat sides that are available right now.
So does that DD 400? Do you find? Have you used it yet?
Not a lot, but I know the other DDs. It's going to work similarly, so I can still probably speak on it.
So does it come through brush pretty good, like wood, or
no? Honestly, I can't answer that question. It's like one of those things where like you fish something and you get confidence in it. So like the Cloud 9s have been out longer. So like I started throwing those obviously a lot, and they've worked at Cap, they've worked at CMV, and I've learned to fish those through the brush. But I haven't really dedicated the time to the DD ones to be able to say one's better than the other when it comes to brush.
It really interests me in the fact that it doesn't pull back as hard.
And, so like I know that a lot of the guys, especially in the summertime, like in Texas and stuff, the way they fish a lot is they make a super long cast and they reel it down, and then they'll kill it, and then they'll burn it and kill it, and burn it and kill it. And it's, the water temps out there get like super hot. So you're basically forcing the fish to react, where I don't think our lakes function exactly the same, but there's times where they want to eat and they don't want to eat. And if you get that fast crankbait, that fish is either going to bite it or it's not going to bite it. So I think that's basically the logic on the burning of it. But I haven't played around with the DDs too much at home to be able to speak on it a lot there, because I know what you're thinking, like Samasini and stuff like that, getting that.
That's exactly right.
It probably would be. It probably would be better because it doesn't have the drag, and you might be able to feel it a little bit better going through the brush, because that Cloud 9 does pull. But like once you dedicate some time, like you're gonna lose some crankbaits fishing it that way. Like anytime you're fishing a crankbait around a brush, it's gonna eventually hang. But if you put some time into it to really feel it and kind of know that, do not set the hook until that fish pulls back and know it's a fish, because you got treble hooks and like you have so much drag on those deep crankbaits. Like they're hooked once they go to bite it and they start to turn their head, like they're hooked. Like it's always nice to give it a little bit like of a hook set, even when you're fishing a crankbait, but you're not going to lose that fish waiting to feel the pull back, because a lot of times if you pull as soon as you feel something, it can be that brush, and if you wait till the pull back, you're not likely to get it hung like you can, or if you do get it hung, a lot of times you can just let it float back up and keep going.
Right. Yeah. 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 It's perked my interest. I'm gonna go check them out.
Yeah, and I think the pressure series might be a player for us because like the we I feel like we have seasons to the crankbait bite. Like you can't just every for me anyway, I can't just always go to Cap or always go to CMV and catch them on a
Oh
crankbait.
no, no,
Like
not
I
at
feel like
all.
it's very like they're
Yeah.
on the crankbait right now
Yeah.
and then they're off the crankbait. Where
Yeah.
like other places like you can go and there's always some crankbait bite. It might be better at some time
Right.
or the other. I don't really feel like
Mhm.
our lakes fish that way as much, but I think that the pressure series crankbait might be a little bit more might be a player for us in San Diego. I haven't got to play around with it too much, but I think it will because it's a little bit more of a subtle crankbait. Like it's not as it's just got a subtle, little more finesse, more
Yeah.
pressured fishing, and I
Is
think
it a
that
is it a flat sided or kind of semi flat sided
yeah,
kind of
it's
thing?
almost
Yeah.
it's basically like a deep flat sided crankbait. They
Yeah.
have them from shallow all the way to the deep,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it like for say it's basically a flat sided crankbait that you would see that you would fish shallow, but now they have them all the way out to the deeper ranges too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well, very good, Matt. Thanks for coming on. You want to hit up your sponsors? What do you got? Who you working with now?
So I'm working with Do It Molds, obviously, Six
Mm-hmm.
Sense, Waterland Fishing Optics are the sunglasses company, and then also Victory Hooks. Victory right now they're making a
Okay.
lot of jig hooks. They also have treble hooks.
Yeah.
They have a new treble hook coming out too. It's a 2x strong, um, like a wide gap style hook, but it's not like an EWG, but it's got like a nice little bend in the gap. And
Mm-hmm.
then as it comes to the hook point, it kind of flares out just a tiny bit. Not
Mm-hmm.
enough to like get you snagged on a bunch of stuff, but the logic behind that hook point and the way it was designed is so that way as those fish go, it's easier for them to get hooked. And then the way the bend at the bottom is to keep them on there. And
Stay
then it's got a
hooked.
good barb and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have that style also in like a 1x strong, so a little bit lighter wire, but some guys were wanting a heavier wire, so they came out with that one. So
Yeah.
you just have to pair it up to whatever crankbait or top water that you would need to dial it in, depending. Like if you're going to throw like a deep diving crankbait, I'd probably go with the 2x rather than the 1x. If you're throwing like, I don't know, like a smaller walking top water bait, you might want to go, or jerk bait or something. You're probably going to want to go with the thinner wire hooks.
Mm-hmm.
But they got that
Yeah.
new hook coming out. Down the road, this isn't anything coming up soon, but I was able to play around with some of the hooks that they're going to have when it comes to like the worm hooks, because right now they're pretty dedicated on the jig making and tackle making side. And
Yeah.
then they also work with some other companies to provide them hooks for their own baits and stuff like that they sell to the masses as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they are going to have some worm hooks and flipping hooks, and I was able to see those today for the first time. And I think they're going to be a pretty good looking hook. They got a lot of the like nano coating on them and stuff like that. Super
Oh,
slick,
really?
sharp.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, those are pretty cool. I got some behind the scenes information of the issues that's going on with the nano coating and stuff like that. It's not as simple as just do it, because now there's some law that if the nanoparticles or whatever are too high, the package has to have a label on it, and that's a California rule, I think. And then
Oh, of course.
so then we got to go back to the science of it and go, okay, do we need this or do we need that for the packaging? And so and every company's dealing with that because it's all under the same umbrella. But the nano coating stuff, I think, is going to um, become pretty standard pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I've been using Victory hooks for my do it molds and for my
Mm-hmm.
like at my A rigs and
Yeah.
the little shad heads and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because I've found that they fit the mold, um, that I can get a smaller hook in the mold, because again, like we were
Yeah.
saying earlier, my A rigs, I'm fishing a 2.0 or a 1.0 hook on my A
Right.
rigs instead of everybody else in the great nation of 3.0 hooks. We have to pare down here.
Yeah, and that's something that
And
I think we've
Victory makes those hooks.
Yeah, and I think
that
all of
fit.
us have been there at some point trying to go like, how do I find a jig head with that smaller hook? So
Yeah.
we've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there. But yeah, so the thing about making them is you can really dial in that hook size pretty good, and um, most of the time you can get away with the smaller hook in the mold a little bit easier than like going way bigger. My rule of thumb when it comes to like if you're making your own jigs or whatever, you can pretty much go up a size and down a size from what it recommends and not have any
Yep.
issues.
Yeah.
Occasionally, if you go down too far, the issue isn't that the mold can't accept it as much as it is like the neck from like the hook eye to the bend is too short, and that's where the issue is. And
Yeah.
that's a harder modification. But if you need to go bigger, you can always Dremel it out or something like that if you really
Right.
want to go with a bigger one.
Yeah.
I'm a little leery on the Dremel side because you can really mess your mold up that way.
Right.
So you got to be really careful with the Dremel. If it's like if the mold calls for a 3/0 and you want a 5/0, let's just say for whatever reason, that's probably a little bit easier of a mod because you could probably just put that 5/0 hook in there, close your mold up so it's real tight, and then you can take a mallet and just compress it till where everything's nice and smooth at the top.
Yeah.
And now you've created that extra space in the mold by just kind of essentially flattening that part of the aluminum.
Yeah.
And then you're probably going to be able to still accept all the hook sizes from there out.
Yeah. 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 I've done some little bit of modification with mine.
Yeah, I don't modify mine to accept hooks too much. I'll modify them to like accept a wire keeper, like the buzz baits that I make. I add the wire keeper in there, and I do the same thing. I just lay it in exactly where I want it, close up the mold real nice so that way everything stays in place, and then I bang it with the mallet till it closes tight all the way, and now you've created that cavity, and now you can replicate it the same every time.
Yep. Yep.
You can do that like with different heads for underspins and stuff like that. You put the wire form in there and customize pretty easily.
Yeah. Yep. Same thing. Yeah. That's good. That's good dope.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
There's some guys that get real creative. I don't go super crazy on it, but there's definitely things you can do to, like the diner shiners are really cool, very lifelike looking mold, and it's got a wire keeper in it. And I modified that to be able to make underspins if I want to, and that's a pretty easy one to modify.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you're busy, and so I'm going to let you go. Again, thanks a lot, man. It's going to be a great podcast, and I know everybody's excited for you to be over there at your first year at Icast.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've seen a few different, West Coast people, like Chris Kinley. He's a Havasu guy. I saw Ty Klein, I think yesterday or something. Yeah. So there's a handful, but it's definitely, there's not very many of us that made that flight from California out here. So
right. Yeah.
It was 6.5 hours of flying by all said and done. It was a long day on Monday.
So that's Orlando, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's I've never been to Florida until now. And like every time I walk outside, that wall of humidity just hits me in the face, and I forget that it's there. Like the heat with the humidity is different.
Yeah. I haven't been back there, but I've been to Arkansas and Texas and whatever.
Oh, then. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. It's 100% humidity, 90% humidity it's a different animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. That's it. Well, I'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay. Yep. See ya.
Bye.